In the soft mist of a medieval morning, when the world whispers between darkness and light, a young woman named Ilara stirs beneath her woolen blanket. The fabric, coarse against skin that has never known silk, carries the earthy scent of sheep and rain and countless washings in the village stream. This blanket, rough as tree bark yet precious as gold, tells the story of survival in a world where comfort must be crafted, not purchased. The cottage around Ilara breathes with the quiet rhythm of a family at rest. Wooden beams, darkened by smoke and time, hold the weight of thatched roof and accumulated dreams. Through gaps in the shutters, morning light filters like honey through linen, casting gentle patterns across the dirt floor, where herbs have been scattered to freshen the air and calm the spirit. Ilara's skin bears the faint marks of her daily negotiation with wool. Red lines trace the path where seams have pressed against her shoulders through the night. These marks, barely visible in the golden light, speak of a truth that shaped medieval life, that comfort was not a given, but an art learned through generations of patient adaptation. The wool that embraces Ilara carries within its fibers the story of its making. Shorn from sheep that grazed the common lands beyond the village, it has been washed in stream water blessed with soap made from wood ash and animal fat. Patient hands have combed and spun and woven it into cloth that serves not just to cover, but to protect against elements that could steal life itself. Yet this protection comes with a price that modern comfort cannot imagine. The wool scratches and chafes, leaves the skin marked with its touch, demands constant attention to prevent irritation from becoming injury. In Ilara's world, there is no smooth cotton, no gentle synthetics, no easy escape from texture that reminds the body hourly of its mortality. But in this apparent hardship lies a deeper wisdom. Ilara has learned, as her mother learned, and her mother's mother before her, that the secret to living with wool is not to fight its nature, but to dance with it. Each morning brings its own small ritual of accommodation, the gentle stretching that loosens clothing fibers, the careful adjustment of seams, the application of remedies that soothe without seeking to conquer. As she rises from her bed of straw and woolen coverlets, Ilara performs movements that have become as natural as breathing. She shakes her shift to settle the fabric, runs her hands along areas where friction has gathered through the night, feels with knowing fingers for places that will need attention before the day's work begins. The cottage holds the accumulated wisdom of generations who have faced this same morning challenge. Bundles of dried herbs hang from rafters, chamomile for soothing, lavender for healing, mint for cooling inflammation. These simple plants, gathered from field and forest, represent a pharmacy more precious than any apothecary's shelf, because they have been chosen and prepared by hands that understand intimately the problems they are meant to solve. Ilara moves to the wooden basin where water waits drawn the evening before from the village well. The water carries the chill of deep earth, shocking her fully awake as she splashes it across her face and hands. This cold touch serves not just to clean, but to prepare her skin for another day's partnership with rough fabric and coarse texture. The morning light grows stronger, revealing the cottage's simple treasures. Wooden spoons worn smooth by use rest beside pottery bowls that have served countless meals. Wool cloaks hang on pegs, their surfaces showing the careful repairs and patches that extend their useful life. Everything speaks of the medieval truth that comfort comes not from abundance, but from the skillful use of what little one possesses. As Ilara dresses for the day, she layers her clothing with the precision of someone who understands that each piece serves a purpose beyond mere covering. First comes the linen shift, washed so many times it feels like silk against her skin. This precious undergarment, softer than any outer clothing could ever be, serves as guardian between flesh and the rougher materials that the day demands. Over the shift goes the woolen kirtle, its brown fabric dyed with walnut hulls and faded by sun and washing to the colour of rich earth. This garment, inherited from an older sister who has married and moved to distant village, bears the mark of two women's lives, careful mends, strategic patches, areas worn soft by repeated movement. The kirtle's texture tells stories that words cannot capture. Here, where Ilara's arm swings as she works in the garden, the wool has developed a smoothness that speaks of accommodation between fabric and flesh. There, where her belt rests against her waist, the material has taken on the shape of her body, creating a custom fit that no tailor could achieve through measurement alone. As morning advances, the cottage fills with the sounds of waking life. Ilara's younger brother stirs beneath his woolen blanket, unconsciously scratching at skin that bears the night's collection of small irritations. Their mother rises from the alcove where she shares space with her husband, her movements careful and considered as she adjusts clothing that has shifted and bunched during sleep. Each family member faces the same morning challenge: how to emerge from sleep's temporary refuge and armor themselves for another day of living with materials that protect but also provoke. The solutions they employ have been refined through generations of necessity, small techniques passed down from parent to child like treasured heirlooms. Ilara watches her mother apply a small amount of rendered goose fat to areas where seams have left their mark on tender skin. This simple remedy, made from fat saved from the family's Christmas goose and scented with crushed herbs, provides both healing and protection. The fat soothes irritated skin while creating a barrier that prevents further chafing, a medieval innovation born of need and perfected through experience. The cottage gradually fills with the sounds and scents of daily preparation. Wood smoke rises from the rekindled fire, carrying with it the promise of warmth that will ease stiff joints and cold skin. The smell of barley porridge mingles with the herbal scents that flavor every aspect of medieval life, not luxury, but necessity, transformed into something approaching beauty. As the family prepares to face another day, Ilara reflects on the gentle wisdom that guides their lives. They do not curse the wool that scratches or the lack of softer alternatives. Instead, they have learned to work within the boundaries that their world provides, finding comfort not through the absence of irritation, but through the skillful management of it. In this morning light, surrounded by the familiar textures and scents of medieval life, Ilara embodies a truth that transcends her time and place. Human beings faced with discomfort have always found ways to create ease within constraint, to discover softness within roughness, to transform necessity into a form of grace. The morning sun climbs higher, painting the cottage walls with golden light that promises another day of small challenges met with patient skill. In this gentle illumination, the rough textures that define medieval life seem less harsh, more like old friends whose quirks and demands have become part of life's familiar rhythm. In the garden behind her cottage, where morning dew catches light like scattered diamonds, Elena sits with a bundle of freshly shorn wool at her feet. Her wooden spindle dances between practiced fingers, transforming the raw fleece into thread that will someday become clothing for her family. But this is not mere spinning, it is alchemy, the ancient art of turning coarse necessity into bearable comfort. The wool Elena works carries the story of its origins. Yesterday it covered a sheep that grazed the common meadow beyond the village, where wildflowers grow among the grass and streams run clear over stone. The fleece still holds traces of that outdoor life, bits of thistle and burr, the lanolin that protected the animal's skin, the earthy scent of pasture and weather. Elena's hands know every texture the wool contains. Her fingers sort through the fleece with the precision of someone who understands that not all wool is created equal. The finest, softest fibers that grew closest to the sheep's skin will become undergarments and baby clothes. The coarser, outer wool, weathered and strong, will form cloaks and work clothes that must endure hard use. This wisdom of selection has been passed down through generations of women who learned to read wool like a language. Each fiber tells its story to those who know how to listen. The soft curl that speaks of gentle treatment, the straight strand that promises durability, the oily feel that indicates natural water resistance, all these qualities guide Elena's hands as she prepares the wool for its transformation. Before spinning can begin, the wool must be cleansed and prepared through rituals as old as civilization itself. Elena heats water over her fire, not to boiling, but to the temperature that her grandmother taught her. Hot enough to open the wool's fibers, gentle enough to preserve their essential qualities. Into this bath goes more than mere water. From her stores of gathered herbs, Elena selects soapwort root, dried and saved from last summer's harvest. When crushed and steeped in warm water, this humble plant produces a natural cleanser that foams gently but effectively. The soapwort removes dirt and oils without the harshness of lye-based soap, leaving the wool clean but not stripped of the lanolin that makes it naturally water-resistant. To the washing water, Elena adds other treasures from her herb garden. Chamomile flowers lend their healing properties, beginning the process of transforming scratchy wool into something that can rest comfortably against human skin. Lavender provides its characteristic scent and antiseptic qualities, while mint offers cooling properties that will be appreciated when the wool becomes clothing worn in summer's heat. The washing ritual unfolds with meditative slowness. Eleanor submerges the wool in its herbal bath, watching as the water gradually darkens with the dirt and sweat of sheep's lives. She stirs gently with a wooden paddle, knowing that too much agitation will cause the wool to felt into an unusable mass. This delicate balance between effective cleaning and gentle treatment requires judgment that cannot be taught, but must be learned through experience. As the wool soaks, Elena reflects on the generations of women who have performed this same ritual. In cottages across the medieval world, mothers and daughters gather around washing basins, their hands moving in rhythms established by countless repetitions. This is women's magic, the transformation of raw necessity into livable comfort through patience and accumulated wisdom. The cleaned wool must dry carefully, spread on wooden frames where dappled sunlight can reach it without the harsh direct rays that would make fibers brittle. Elena arranges the wet fleece with the same care she would give to tending a sick child, ensuring that air can circulate freely while protection remains against wind that might tangle the delicate strands. While the wool dries, Elena prepares her tools for the next stage of transformation. Wooden combs, their wire teeth set in precise rows, wait to untangle and align the chaotic mass of fleece into orderly preparation for spinning. These combs, inherited from her mother and worn smooth by decades of use, represent one of the cottage's most valuable possessions. The combing process requires its own form of meditation. Elena draws the wool through the wire teeth with steady pressure, neither too gentle nor too firm. Too light a touch leaves tangles that will create weak spots in the finished thread. Too Heavier hand breaks the precious fibers, wasting material that cannot be replaced. Each stroke of the comb aligns more fibers, creating the parallel arrangement that will allow them to be spun into strong, even thread. As she combs, Elena teaches her young daughter the skills that will serve her throughout her life. "Feel how the wool wants to lay," she says, guiding small hands to understand the material's natural tendencies. We help it find its way, not force it to go where it resists. This philosophy guides more than wool preparation. It speaks to the medieval understanding that working with nature's grain yields better results than fighting against it. The prepared wool, now combed into soft clouds of aligned fiber, waits for the spinning that will give it new purpose. Elena's spindle, carved from oak by her husband's skilled hands, serves as both tool and symbol. As it turns, driven by the twist of her fingers, it gathers individual fibers into a continuous thread that grows longer with each revolution. The rhythm of spinning creates its own meditation. Elena's hands move in patterns established by muscle memory, drawing out the wool to just the right thickness, applying just enough twist to create strength without causing the thread to kink and tangle. This ancient dance between human skill and natural material produces thread that carries within its twisted structure all the care and knowledge of its making. As Elena spins, her thread grows longer, each arm's length representing a small victory in the ongoing transformation of raw material into useful goods. This thread will soon travel to her loom, where it will be woven with other threads to create fabric. That fabric will be cut and sewn into garments that will clothe her family through seasons of weather and work. But more than mere utility, this thread carries the accumulated wisdom of generations who learned to live comfortably with wool's dual nature. The same properties that make wool scratchy when newly shorn, the crimp and curl of individual fibers, the residual oils and dirt of sheep life, also give it the characteristics that make it invaluable for human survival. Elena understands that the secret to comfortable wool lies not in eliminating its roughness, but in managing it skillfully. The thread she creates has been processed with herbs that soothe and heal. When woven into fabric, it will be washed again with more herbs and careful attention to softening without weakening. When sewn into garments, it will be lined with softer materials and adjusted constantly to prevent the irritation that comes from poor fit or careless finishing. The afternoon sun climbs higher as Eleanor's spindle continues its dance. Around her, the garden blooms with the herbs that season her wool processing and the vegetables that feed her family. The integration of these different aspects of medieval life, food production, textile creation, herbal medicine, reflects the holistic approach that characterized peasant survival. Elena's thread represents more than individual accomplishment. It embodies the collective wisdom of her community. The techniques she uses have been shared among women for generations, refined through trial and error, adapted to local conditions and available materials. Each spinner contributes her own small innovations to the accumulated knowledge that makes a rough wool bearable against human skin. As the afternoon progresses toward evening, Elena reflects on the thread growing beneath her fingers. Tomorrow, this thread will join others on her loom, creating fabric that will serve her family's needs. But today, it represents the daily miracle of transformation that characterizes medieval life, the patient alchemy that turns rough necessity into gentle comfort through skill, wisdom, and the accumulated knowledge of generations who face the same challenges with creativity and perseverance. The spinning wheel may not yet exist in Elena's world, but her simple spindle and skilled hands accomplish the same essential magic, the transformation of wool from irritant to comfort through the application of wisdom, patience, and the understanding that true luxury lies not in the absence of challenge, but in the mastery of techniques that make challenge bearable. The village well stands like a faithful guardian at the heart of the community, its stone rim worn smooth by countless hands that have drawn water for washing, cooking, and the daily rituals of cleanliness. As morning mist rises from the fields, beyond, Margaret makes her way to this ancient source with wooden buckets in her hands and knowledge as old as her people in her heart. The water that rises from deep in the earth carries more than mere moisture. It holds the promise of renewal for bodies that must live in constant negotiation with rough wool and coarse linen. Margaret's grandmother taught her that water alone, while precious, was not enough to cleanse skin irritated by scratchy fabrics and remove the oils that accumulated in clothing worn day after day. But the countryside around their village holds secrets that transform simple water into something far more powerful. In meadows where sheep graze and along streams where willows bend, plants grow that carry within their leaves and roots the ability to cleanse, soothe, and heal. Margaret learned to recognize these plants as a child, walking with her mother through fields and forests while gathering the ingredients for their family's survival. Today, Margaret returns from the well to find her family beginning their morning washing ritual. This daily cleansing serves purposes beyond mere removal of dirt. It represents a form of medicine that addresses the accumulated effects of living with materials that protect but also irritate. Without manufactured soap, without hot running water, without any of the conveniences that modern life takes for granted, medieval peasants developed their own sophisticated methods for maintaining health and comfort. In her cottage, Margaret has prepared the materials that will transform ordinary well water into healing solutions. Bundles of dried herbs hang from wooden beams, each plant chosen for its specific properties and gathered at the moment when its healing power reaches its peak. These humble materials represent a pharmacy more valuable than any merchant's imported goods because they address the particular challenges of medieval life. Margaret begins with soapwort, a plant she gathered from the banks of the village stream when its pale pink flowers were in full bloom. The root of this modest plant, when crushed and steeped in warm water, produces a gentle foam that cleanses without the harsh alkalinity of lye-based soap. This natural cleanser removes dirt and oils while leaving skin's protective barriers intact. Into a wooden bowl, Margaret grates the dried soapwort root, releasing the plant's natural cleansing agents. She adds warm water, heated over the fire, to the temperature that experience has taught her, provides maximum benefit without causing discomfort. As the mixture steeps, it begins to foam gently, creating a cleansing solution that would not seem foreign to modern users of gentle, plant-based products. But Margaret's washing preparations extend far beyond simple cleansing. From her stores of dried herbs, she selects chamomile flowers, their small white petals and yellow centers, now faded to brown but still carrying their healing properties. When steeped in warm water, chamomile creates a soothing solution that reduces the inflammation caused by wool's constant friction against sensitive skin. The chamomile tea, for that is what it truly is, becomes Margaret's first weapon against the daily irritations of medieval dress. She soaks soft cloths in the chamomile water and applies them to areas where fabric seams have left their mark during the night. The herb's anti-inflammatory properties begin immediately to reduce redness and swelling, while its gentle nature ensures that even the most sensitive skin receives only comfort. To the basic chamomile wash, Margaret adds other herbs according to the season and her family's current needs. Mint, dried from her summer garden, provides cooling relief for skin that feels hot and irritated. The mint's natural oils create a sensation of coolness that persists long after the washing is complete. providing comfort that helps the body tolerate another day's partnership with rough clothing. Lavender, perhaps the most precious of Margaret's herbal stores, brings its own gifts to the morning washing ritual. The dried purple flowers, when steeped in warm water, release oils that serve multiple purposes. Lavender soothes irritated skin, provides natural antiseptic properties that prevent minor cuts and scratches from becoming infected, and leaves behind a scent that repels the fleas and lice that complicate medieval life. As Margaret prepares her family's washing water, she reflects on the wisdom that guides her choices. This knowledge was not learned from books, which few peasants could read, but passed down through generations of women who faced the same daily challenges. Each herb, each technique, each subtle variation in preparation reflects the accumulated experience of countless mothers who sought to ease their family's discomfort. The washing ritual itself unfolds with ceremonial precision. Each family member receives their share of the precious warm water, along with cloths softened by years of use and washing. The herbal solutions are applied with gentle hands that understand the difference between cleaning and healing, between removing dirt and providing comfort. Margaret's youngest son bears red marks on his shoulders where his woolen nightshirt has rubbed during sleep. She applies chamomile water with special care to these tender areas, then follows with a light application of lavender oil mixed with rendered goose fat. This combination provides immediate soothing relief while creating a protective barrier that will ease the boy's transition back into daytime clothing. Her daughter, approaching womanhood and increasingly conscious of her appearance, receives special attention to areas where tight-fitting clothes have begun to chafe. Margaret shows her how to recognize the early signs of irritation and treat them before they become painful problems. This knowledge, passed from mother to daughter, ensures the survival of techniques that make harsh life bearable. Margaret's husband, whose work in the fields exposes him to additional sources of irritation from sun, wind, and plant matter, receives his own specialized treatment. Areas where his leather belt has rubbed against wool, creating double friction, are soothed with comfrey water. This humble plant, growing wild near the village pond, contains compounds that promote rapid healing and reduce inflammation. The morning washing extends beyond mere skin care to include the treatment of clothing that has become rough with wear. Margaret has learned to add herbs to rinse water that will be used for washing garments, creating solutions that soften wool fibers while providing protection against insects and unpleasant odors. Rosemary, gathered from the sunny hillside where it grows wild among the rocks, serves multiple purposes in clothing care. When added to rinse water, it softens wool while providing a fresh, clean scent that persists for days. Rosemary also repels moths and other insects that would damage stored clothing, making it doubly valuable in medieval household management. The herbal rinse water transforms the weekly clothing wash from mere cleaning into a form of preventive medicine. Garments washed in herb-infused water emerge not only clean, but treated with natural compounds that reduce their tendency to irritate skin. This simple innovation represents the kind of practical wisdom that characterized medieval peasant life, the ability to address multiple problems with single solutions. As the morning progresses, Margaret's family completes their washing ritual, restored and refreshed. Their skin, soothed by herbal treatments and protected by natural barriers, feels ready to face another day's challenges. Their clothing, rinsed in herb-scented water and adjusted for maximum comfort, provides protection without excessive irritation. The used washing water, now clouded with herbs and oils, does not go to waste in Margaret's household. It is poured onto her herb garden, where the nutrients it contains will feed the plants that provide her family's medicine. This circular approach to resource use reflects the medieval understanding that waste is simply inefficiency, everything has its purpose and everything can be used. Margaret cleans her washing basins and stores her herbal preparations for the next day's use. The rhythms of medieval life require this constant attention to daily maintenance, this endless cycle of preparation and care that prevents small problems from becoming large ones. Through these simple rituals performed with skill and knowledge, passed down through generations, ordinary families transformed the harsh realities of medieval life into something not only bearable, but touched with its own forms of beauty and grace. The morning sun climbs higher, promising another day of challenges, met with patience and wisdom. In Margaret's cottage, the scents of healing herbs linger in the air like blessings, reminding all who breathe them that comfort comes not from avoiding hardship, but from developing the skills to meet it with creativity, knowledge, and the accumulated wisdom of generations who faced the same struggles with determined grace. Behind her cottage, where morning light filters through apple trees heavy with fruit, Agnes tends to her garden with the devotion of someone who understands that these humble plants hold the keys to her family's daily comfort. This small plot of earth, protected from harsh winds by stone walls built by her grandfather's hands, represents more than mere cultivation. It is a living pharmacy where healing grows in rows, as ordered as any apothecary's shelves. The garden awakens with the dawn, each plant beginning its daily work of creating the compounds that will ease human suffering. Agnes moves among her herbs with the quiet reverence of someone who has learned to read the subtle language that plants speak. To those who know how to listen, here grows chamomile, its small daisy-like flowers hiding remarkable power to soothe irritated skin. There, lavender rises in purple spikes that promise both healing and the kind of peaceful sleep that restores weary bodies. Agnes's hands, weathered by years of garden work and household labor, move with gentle precision as she harvests the morning's gifts. Each plant requires its own approach, its own timing, its own careful attention to ensure that healing properties remain intact, from garden to cottage to the skin that needs their touch. This knowledge, accumulated through generations of herb women, guides every movement as Agnes selects what her family will need for another day of living with wool's rough embrace. The chamomile flowers, no larger than a child's fingernail, release their honey-sweet scent as Agnes gathers them into her woven basket. These modest blooms contain natural compounds that reduce inflammation and promote healing, precisely what skin irritated by coarse wool needs most. Agnes learned from her grandmother to pick chamomile flowers in the early morning when dew still clings to their petals, for this is when their healing oils are most concentrated. Near the cottage wall, where stones hold the warmth of yesterday's sun, grows a patch of comfrey with leaves large enough to wrap around a baby's hand. Agnes treats this plant with special respect, for comfrey possesses almost magical powers of healing. When crushed and applied to cuts, scrapes, and areas where rough clothing has chafed skin raw, comfrey promotes rapid healing that seems to defy nature's usual slow pace of repair. Agnes cuts several comfrey leaves, being careful to take only what she needs, while leaving enough for the plant to continue thriving. These leaves will be crushed and mixed with rendered fat to create a healing salve that can transform angry red irritation into healthy pink skin within days. The knowledge of how to prepare and apply this remedy has been passed down through her family like a precious inheritance. In the corner where the garden meets the herb plot, mint spreads with the enthusiasm of a plant that knows its worth. Agnes harvests handfuls of the fragrant leaves, knowing that mint serves multiple purposes in her family's ongoing battle against the discomforts of medieval life. When crushed and rubbed on irritated skin, Mint provides immediate cooling relief. When dried and sewn into small cloth bags, it repels the insects that would otherwise torment her family through the night. The mint's cooling properties make it especially valuable during summer months when wool clothing becomes almost unbearable. In the heat, Agnes has learned to prepare mint water by steeping fresh leaves in cool well water, creating a refreshing wash that provides relief when heat and wool combine to create misery. This simple preparation can mean the difference between a day of suffering and a day of bearable discomfort. Agnes moves deeper into her garden, where more specialized plants offer their own unique contributions to family comfort. Here grows sage, its grey-green leaves soft as velvet and rich with oils that cleanse and heal. When mixed with fat, sage creates a natural deodorant that medieval peasants used to maintain cleanliness when frequent bathing was not possible. The plant's antiseptic properties also help prevent the skin infections that could turn minor irritations into serious problems. Near the fence that protects her garden from wandering chickens, Agnes tends her precious lavender bushes. These plants, more valuable than silver in a world without easy access to healing, provide remedies for almost every aspect of medieval discomfort. Lavender oil, extracted by steeping flowers in warm fat, soothes irritated skin while providing the antiseptic action that prevents infection. Dried lavender flowers, sewn into cloth bags, scent clothing and bedding while repelling fleas and lice. But lavender's greatest gift may be its ability to promote peaceful sleep. Agnes has learned to place small bags of dried lavender beneath her family's pillows, where the herb's gentle scent works throughout the night to calm minds troubled by the day's discomforts and prepare bodies for the restorative rest that heals both physical irritation and emotional stress. As Agnes continues her morning harvest, she reflects on the interconnected nature of her garden's gifts. Each plant serves multiple purposes, addressing different aspects of the same fundamental challenge: how to live comfortably with materials that protect but also irritate. The wisdom lies not in finding single solutions to individual problems, but in understanding how different remedies work together to create an overall strategy for comfort and health. The morning sun climbs higher as Agnes fills her basket with the garden's offerings. She has gathered not just herbs but possibilities, the raw materials for salves and washes, teas and treatments that will ease her family through another day of rough wool and coarse linen. Each plant represents accumulated knowledge, generations of trial and error that have identified which combinations work best for which problems. Back in her cottage, Agnes begins the careful process of preparing her herbal remedies. Some herbs are best used fresh, their healing properties most potent when applied immediately after harvest. Others must be dried carefully to preserve their medicinal compounds for use throughout the year. The timing and technique of each preparation requires knowledge that cannot be written down but must be learned through observation and practice. Agnes crushes fresh chamomile flowers in a wooden mortar, releasing oils that will soothe her youngest son's tender skin where his woolen shirt has left red marks during the night. She adds a small amount of rendered goose fat, creating a smooth paste that spreads easily and absorbs quickly into irritated skin. This salve, made fresh each morning, provides comfort that allows young skin to adapt gradually to wool's demands. For her daughter, who has begun to develop the skin sensitivity that often comes with approaching womanhood, Agnes prepares a different remedy. Fresh mint leaves crushed and mixed with a little cool water create a cooling paste that provides immediate relief from the burning sensation that can result from prolonged contact with rough fabric. This remedy works especially well for areas where tight-fitting clothing has created friction and heat. Agnes's herb preparations extend beyond immediate treatment to preventive care. She creates protective salves that can be applied before putting on clothing, creating barriers that prevent irritation from occurring in the first place. These preparations, made from combinations of healing herbs and protective fats, represent a sophisticated understanding of how to manage the ongoing challenge of living with rough materials. The cottage gradually fills with the mingled scents of healing herbs as Agnes works. The smell of crushed chamomile mingles with lavender's distinctive fragrance, while mint provides its own bright note to the olfactory symphony of healing. These scents, pleasant in themselves, also serve to remind the family throughout the day that comfort and healing are always within reach. As the morning progresses toward midday, Agnes completes her preparations and stores the various remedies in small pottery jars and wooden containers. Each preparation is labelled not with writing, which Agnes cannot read, but with the kind of practical knowledge that comes from long experience. This jar for cuts and scrapes, that container for general skin irritation, another for the specific challenges that come with seasonal changes in clothing weight and texture. Agnes teaches her eldest daughter the skills that will serve her own family in years to come. She shows the girl how to recognize when chamomile is ready for harvest, how to crush herbs to release maximum healing properties, how to judge the proper proportions of plant matter to fat in healing salves. This knowledge, passed from mother to daughter like a sacred trust, ensures that the wisdom of generations will continue to ease human suffering in times to come. The garden outside continues its patient work of creating healing compounds, while Agnes tends to her family's immediate needs. The plants she has harvested will regrow, the herbs she has dried will provide comfort through winter months, and the knowledge she has shared will live on in capable hands that will one day tend gardens of their own. In this peaceful morning, light, surrounded by the fruits of her careful cultivation and the scents of healing herbs, Agnes embodies the quiet triumph of human adaptation. She has learned to work with nature's gifts to address life's challenges, transforming simple plants into sophisticated remedies that make rough materials bearable and harsh life gentle. The sun reaches its gentle zenith as the village settles into the quiet rhythm of midday rest. In cottages throughout the community, families pause their morning labors to gather for simple meals and the precious respite that midday brings. This is the hour when bodies weary from wearing rough wool can find temporary relief, when tender skin can be soothed, and when the accumulated small irritations of daily life receive the attention that prevents them from becoming serious problems. In her cottage, where sunlight streams through the single window and falls across the wooden table, worn smooth by generations of use, Beatrice sits with her youngest daughter, examining the child's soft shoulder, where her woolen dress has left its mark. The red line that traces the path of a seam tells a story familiar to every medieval family, the ongoing negotiation between human comfort and the materials that protect but also provoke. Little Catherine, only 4 years old, bears her discomfort with the patience that children learn early in a world where complaint accomplishes nothing but where gentle care can ease most troubles. Her mother's touch is practiced and sure as she applies a small amount of healing salve to the irritated skin, her fingers moving with the precision of someone who has soothed countless such marks over the years. The salve, made from chamomile, flowers, and rendered goose fat, feels cool and soothing against Catherine's warm skin. The chamomile's natural anti-inflammatory properties begin immediately to reduce the redness and swelling, while the fat creates a protective barrier that will cushion the child's tender skin when she must resume wearing her woolen dress. This simple remedy, applied with love and knowledge, transforms irritation into comfort within moments. Beatrice understands that Catherine's sensitivity will gradually diminish as her skin adapts to wool's demands, but she also knows that this adaptation must happen slowly and with careful attention to prevent more serious problems. Each application of soothing salve is not just treatment but also education, teaching young skin to tolerate rough textures while preventing the kind of severe irritation that could lead to infection or permanent sensitivity. As she tends to, her daughter Beatrice reflects on the midday rituals that mark medieval peasant life. This hour of rest serves purposes beyond mere recovery from morning labors. It provides opportunity for the kind of careful attention to detail that maintains family health and comfort. In these quiet moments, small problems can be addressed before they become large ones, and preventive care can be applied that will ease the afternoon's challenges. The cottage around them holds the accumulated wisdom of generations who understood the importance of midday care. Herbs hang drying from wooden beams, their fragrances mixing to create an atmosphere of healing and comfort. Pottery jars containing various salves and remedies line a wooden shelf, each preparation carefully labeled through the kind of practical knowledge that comes from daily use. Beatrice's husband enters from the fields, his face marked with the flush of morning work, and his woolen tunic showing dark patches where sweat has soaked through the fabric. She can see immediately that his morning's labor has created its own challenges, areas where his leather belt has rubbed against wool, creating double friction that has left red marks across his waist. Without being asked, Beatrice prepares a cool compress using water infused with mint leaves. The mint, gathered fresh from her garden that morning, provides immediate cooling relief when applied to heated, irritated skin. She applies the compress to her husband's waist, where his belt has created friction, watching as the tension in his face eases and his shoulders relax as comfort replaces discomfort. The family's midday meal unfolds against this backdrop of gentle care and attention. Simple fare, bread, cheese, and ale provides nourishment for bodies that must work hard to survive, but the real restoration comes from these moments of tenderness and healing that acknowledge the body's daily struggles with rough materials and harsh conditions. As they eat, Beatrice observes each family member with the practiced eye of someone who has learned to read the subtle signs of discomfort before they become obvious problems. Her eldest son unconsciously rubs his neck where his woolen hood has chafed during the morning's work. Her middle daughter shifts restlessly, trying to find a position that relieves pressure from a seam that has been bothering her throughout the day. These small movements, barely noticeable to untrained eyes, speak volumes to Beatrice about her family's current needs. After the meal, she will address each person's specific discomforts with remedies chosen from her carefully maintained collection of healing preparations. This individual attention provided daily during the midday respite prevents minor irritations from accumulating into serious problems. The afternoon light grows warm and golden as Beatrice begins her systematic care of each family member's needs. Her eldest son receives a gentle massage with lavender oil around his neck and shoulders, the herb's soothing properties working to reduce inflammation, while its antiseptic qualities prevent infection in areas where skin has been rubbed raw. The massage itself, performed with hands that understand the geography of discomfort, helps to relax muscles that have been tensed against rough fabric throughout the morning. For her middle daughter, Beatrice prepares a different remedy. The girl's sensitivity to wool seems to increase with her approaching adolescence, and areas that once caused no trouble now require special attention. Beatrice applies a paste made from fresh comfrey leaves and clean fat to spots where seams have pressed too firmly against developing skin. The comfrey's remarkable healing properties will work throughout the afternoon to reduce inflammation and promote rapid healing. The midday care extends beyond immediate comfort to include adjustments and modifications that will prevent problems during the afternoon's activities. Beatrice examines each family member's clothing with experienced eyes, looking for areas where fabric has bunched or shifted in ways that will create new sources of irritation. A seam that sits incorrectly, a belt that has twisted, a sleeve that pulls too tightly. All these small problems receive attention before they can cause discomfort. Using skills passed down through generations of women who understood that comfort must be constantly maintained, Beatrice makes tiny adjustments to her family's clothing. She smooths wrinkled areas that could create pressure points, adjusts ties and fastenings to distribute weight more evenly, and applies small amounts of softening salve to areas of fabric that have become particularly rough with wear. These adjustments, invisible to casual observation, represent the hidden engineering that made medieval life bearable. Each small modification reflects accumulated knowledge about how clothing moves with the human body, where friction is most likely to occur, and how to prevent the accumulation of irritation that could interfere with work and sleep. As Beatrice works, she teaches her daughters the skills they will need to maintain their own family's comfort in years to come. She shows them how to recognize the early signs of skin irritation, how to adjust clothing for maximum comfort, and how to apply remedies that provide both immediate relief and long-term protection. This knowledge, passed from mother to daughter, like a precious inheritance, ensures the survival of techniques that transform hardship into manageable discomfort. The cottage fills with the quiet sounds of healing and care as the family prepares to resume their afternoon activities. Children who entered the midday rest marked with the morning's accumulation of small irritations emerge refreshed and comfortable, their skin soothed and their clothing adjusted for optimal function. This transformation, achieved through simple remedies and careful attention, represents the daily miracle of medieval peasant survival. Outside the cottage, the village continues its own midday rhythms. Other families engage in similar rituals of care and healing, each household drawing on the same deep well of accumulated wisdom about living comfortably with rough materials. The knowledge that guides these activities has been tested by generations of necessity, refined through countless repetitions, and proven effective by the simple fact of survival. As the afternoon approaches, Beatrice completes her family's midday restoration. Bodies that bore the marks of morning's challenges now show smooth, healthy skin protected by barriers of healing salve and soothed by the application of plant-based remedies. Clothing that had shifted and bunched during morning activities now fits properly, adjusted to minimize friction and maximize comfort. The midday respite draws to a close with each family member restored and prepared for the afternoon's challenges. The healing that has taken place during these quiet hours will sustain them through the remaining daylight hours, while the preventive measures that have been applied will ease their transition into evening's different demands. Beatrice gathers her healing supplies and stores them carefully for the next day's use. The rhythms of medieval life require this constant attention to maintenance and care, this endless cycle of observation, treatment, and adjustment that keeps rough materials bearable and harsh conditions manageable. As the family prepares to resume their daily work, they carry with them not only restored comfort, but also the knowledge that relief is always available, that healing can be found in simple plants and gentle touch, and that even life's roughest challenges can be softened through patience, wisdom, and the kind of loving attention that has sustained human families through countless generations of hardship and adaptation. In this peaceful midday light, surrounded by the scents of healing herbs and the warmth of family care, they embody the eternal human capacity to create comfort within constraint, to to find softness within roughness and to transform necessity into a form of grace that makes even the simplest life rich with its own quiet beauty and meaning. Let this gentle rhythm of care and healing lull you toward your own peaceful rest, knowing that even in the hardest times, human love finds ways to ease suffering and create comfort from the simplest gifts of earth and garden. As afternoon shadows lengthen and the day's heat reaches its gentle peak, the village bathhouse awakens with purpose and preparation. Steam begins to rise from the low wooden building beside the stream, where heated stones and careful tending create a sanctuary of warmth and healing for bodies wearied by constant contact with rough wool and coarse linen. This humble structure represents one of medieval life's greatest luxuries, a place where the accumulated irritations of daily existence can be washed away in ritual that serves both body and spirit. Eleanor approaches the bathhouse with her weekly bundle tucked carefully under her arm, a clean linen shift soft as cloud, a wooden comb carved smooth by her husband's patient hands, and a small clay pot containing soap paste made from ash and animal fat mixed with healing herbs. The bathhouse serves families on a careful rotation throughout the week, and today marks Eleanor's turn for the weekly restoration that makes all other days bearable. The bathhouse keeper, an elderly woman named Marguerite, whose knowledge of herbs and healing spans 6 decades, tends the fires that heat the stones and water. Her weathered hands move with practiced precision as she adjusts the flow of steam and ensures that the wooden tubs are filled to the proper depth, with water heated to temperatures that soothe without shocking tender skin already irritated by wool's daily embrace. The interior of the bathhouse glows with golden light filtered through steam and warmed by fires that burn with aromatic woods chosen for their gentle smoke. Wooden tubs of various sizes accommodate different needs: larger vessels for full body soaking, smaller basins for washing specific areas, and shallow pools where children can bathe safely under their mother's watchful care. Eleanor enters this warm sanctuary and feels immediate relief as the moist heat begins to open her pores and relax muscles that have been tensed against rough fabric throughout the week. The contrast between the bathhouse's enveloping warmth and the constant mild irritation of daily dress creates a sensation almost of rebirth, as if she is emerging from the constraints of medieval life into a gentler realm where comfort reigns supreme. Marguerite greets Eleanor with the knowing smile of someone who has witnessed generations of village women seek relief in these healing waters. She helps Eleanor settle into one of the larger wooden tubs, which has been filled with water heated to the perfect temperature for soothing skin marked by wool's weekly accumulation of friction and pressure. The warm water envelopes Eleanor's body like liquid peace, immediately beginning to ease the minor irritations that mark every medieval peasant's existence. Red lines where seams have pressed against her skin begin to fade as heat penetrates deeply, relaxing not just surface irritation, but the underlying tension that comes from constant adaptation to uncomfortable materials. Eleanor opens her clay pot and removes a portion of her precious soap paste. This treasure, created through careful mixing of ash-derived lye with rendered animal fat, represents hours of dangerous preparation. The lye, made by pouring water through wood ash and collecting the caustic liquid that results, must be combined with fat in precise proportions to create soap that cleanses without burning skin already sensitive from wool's rough touch. The soap paste dissolves slowly in the warm water, creating a mild, slippery solution that removes the oils and accumulated grime of weekly labor without stripping away skin's natural protective barriers. Eleanor works the soapy water over her body with gentle hands, paying special attention to areas where wool has caused the most irritation throughout the week. As she bathes, Eleanor is joined by her neighbor Isabel, who settles into an adjacent tub with a sigh that speaks of profound relief. The two women share the comfortable silence of those who understand each other's challenges intimately, their weekly meeting in the bathhouse representing not just physical cleansing, but emotional restoration as well. Isabel carries her own collection of bathing aids, including a bundle of dried herbs tied with soft wool thread. She steeps these herbs in her bath water like tea, releasing healing compounds that address the specific irritations of wool-wearing life. Lavender soothes inflammation, chamomile reduces redness, and mint provides cooling sensations that counteract the burning feeling sometimes caused by rough fabric's persistent friction. The bathhouse fills gradually with the gentle sounds of washing and quiet conversation as other village women arrive for their weekly ritual. Children splash in the shallow pools, their laughter echoing off wooden walls while their mothers tend to the more serious business of healing and restoration. The warm, humid air carries mingled scents of soap, herbs, and clean human bodies. Finally freed from wool's constraining embrace, Eleanor uses her wooden comb to work through hair that has been covered and constrained throughout the week by head cloths designed to protect it from the elements, but also trap oils and debris. Medieval hair care required special attention, as frequent washing was not practical, and hair often became tangled and dirty from wearing protective coverings that served their purpose, but created their own problems. The weekly hair washing removes not only accumulated dirt, but also the small insects that sometimes found homes in unwashed hair during the long intervals between bathings. Eleanor works a mixture of soap and herb-infused water through her hair, with patient fingers untangling knots and removing debris, while being careful not to damage hair that must last her lifetime, without modern treatments or replacements. The warm water gradually softens the rough patches on Eleanor's hands and feet, areas that bear the constant burden of labor and contact with coarse materials. She uses a piece of pumice stone carried from the rocky hills outside the village to gently remove the thickened skin that builds up as protection against repeated friction. This weekly maintenance prevents the formation of painful cracks and sores that could interfere with work and daily life. As Eleanor soaks, she feels the accumulated tension of the week melting away in the healing warmth. Her shoulders, which have carried the weight of heavy woolen clothing day after day, finally have opportunity to truly relax. Her skin, given respite from its woolen covering, can breathe and recover in the moist, warm air that seems to carry its own healing properties. Marguerite moves among the bathers, offering additional services for those who can afford small luxuries. She carries bundles of birch twigs which can be used to gently stimulate circulation and remove dead skin cells in a traditional practice that improves skin health while providing invigorating sensation. This ancient technique, inherited from bathing customs that predate the village itself, helps prepare skin for another week's partnership with rough clothing. The birch twigs, when used with proper technique, create tingling sensations that feel refreshing rather than painful. Marguerite demonstrates the correct method to younger women who have not yet learned this art, showing them how to use the twigs to improve circulation without irritating skin that may already be sensitive from wool's weekly accumulation of friction. As her weekly transformation nears completion, Eleanor feels her body responding to the bathhouse's healing environment. Her skin, softened by warm water and soothed by herbal treatments, shows none of the red marks and minor irritations that she carried into the bathhouse. Her hair, clean and fragrant with herb-scented water, falls smoothly around her shoulders. Her muscles, relaxed by heat and freed from clothing's constant constraint, feel renewed and strong. The ritual of leaving the bathhouse requires its own careful attention to preserving the benefits of the healing session. Eleanor dries herself, gently, with clean linen cloths, being careful not to irritate skin that has been softened by soaking. She applies a small amount of healing salve to areas that showed signs of irritation, creating protective barriers that will ease her transition back to woolen clothing. As Eleanor prepares to dress in her clean linen shift and resume wearing her woolen outer garments, she feels the contrast between her refreshed state and the demands that await outside the bathhouse. The clean, soft linen feels like silk against her restored skin, while the wool, though still rough, seems more tolerable after her body's weekly restoration. The late afternoon sun filters through the bathhouse windows as Eleanor emerges from her weekly sanctuary, carrying with her not only a clean body but also a renewed spirit prepared to face another week of rough wool and daily discomfort. The bathhouse has provided what no other medieval institution could offer: complete respite that heals both physical irritation and emotional stress. Eleanor walks home through village streets where other families await their own turns at weekly restoration, the cycle continuing as each household takes its opportunity for healing and renewal. The bathhouse stands ready to receive them all, its warm interior promising the same gentle transformation that has sustained Eleanor through another week of medieval life's endless challenges. In the golden light of late afternoon, with her body restored and her spirit refreshed, Eleanor embodies the quiet triumph of human adaptation over circumstance. Through weekly ritual in the bathhouse's healing warmth, she has found renewal that makes rough wool bearable, daily discomfort manageable, and medieval life not just survivable but touched with its own forms of comfort and grace. As twilight paints the sky in shades of lavender and rose, and the day's heat gives way to evening's gentle coolness, Cordelia sits by her cottage window, where the last precious light illuminates her careful needlework. The evening hours, when Diet's field work ends and supper has been cleared away, belong to the quiet tasks that maintain a family's comfort and dignity. Tonight, like every evening, Cordelia tends to the endless cycle of mending, adjusting, and preparing that keeps rough wool bearable against human skin. In her lap rests her husband's work tunic, a garment that has served faithfully through 2 seasons, but now shows the accumulated effects of daily labor and constant wear. The brown wool, originally dyed with bark gathered from oak trees that grow beyond the village, has faded to a softer shade that speaks of countless washings and long hours under the sun. More importantly for Cordelia's evening task, the fabric has developed areas where constant movement and friction have broken and matted the wool fibers into rough patches that irritate rather than comfort. Cordelia's fingers explore the garment with the practiced touch of someone who has learned to read clothing like a physician reads symptoms. Here, where her husband's hoe handle rubs against his side during field work, the wool has become compressed and harsh. There, where his leather belt sits against his waist throughout the long working day, repeated friction has created a band of particularly coarse fabric that leaves red marks on his skin by evening's end. The mending basket beside Cordelia's chair holds the treasures that will restore comfort to worn clothing. Scraps of fine linen, saved from garments too worn for their original purpose, await new life as patches that create barriers between skin and roughened wool. Soft woolen thread, spun from the finest fibers available and prepared with special care, stands ready to create repairs that heal rather than irritate. From her collection of fabric remnants, Cordelia selects a piece of linen so soft that years of use and washing have given it the texture of silk. This precious scrap, cut from an undergarment that finally wore beyond repair, will be sewn inside her husband's tunic, where the roughened wool has been causing daily discomfort. The patch, invisible to any observer, represents the hidden engineering that makes medieval clothing bearable. The art of strategic patching requires intimate knowledge of how the human body moves and how clothing responds to that movement. Cordelia has learned through years of observation which areas of garments suffer the most stress, which seams are most likely to become rough with wear, and where small modifications can prevent minor irritations from becoming painful problems that interfere with work and sleep. As the evening light fades, Cordelia lights a small oil lamp to continue her work. The lamp, filled with rendered fat from their family's pig, provides just enough illumination for close needlework while conserving precious fuel. The warm, flickering light creates a circle of productivity in the gathering darkness, where the day's problems are addressed with needle and thread, patience and accumulated wisdom. Cordelia's stitching follows patterns established by generations of women who faced the same challenges of maintaining family comfort with limited resources. Each stitch must be small enough to create smooth seams that won't irritate sensitive skin, yet strong enough to withstand the daily stress of labor and movement. The thread, prepared with special care to ensure softness, creates repairs that add comfort rather than creating new sources of irritation. As she works, Cordelia teaches her young daughter the skills that will serve her throughout her life. Mary sits beside her mother, practicing her own needlework on scraps of old fabric, while learning to identify areas of wear before they become serious problems. The knowledge Cordelia shares has been tested by generations of necessity, refined through countless repetitions, proven valuable by the simple fact of survival.
"See how the threads have broken here," Cordelia explains, pointing to a rough area where individual wool fibers have been damaged by repeated friction. When threads break, they create tiny, sharp ends that scratch against the skin. We must either
smooth them down or cover them with something soft. This practical wisdom, passed from mother to daughter, ensures the survival of techniques that transform discomfort into bearable daily wear. The evening's mending extends beyond simple repair, to include modifications that improve garments' comfort and function. Cordelia examines the tunic's seams with experienced eyes, looking for areas where stitching has become rough with age, or where the garment's cut creates unnecessary friction against the body. Using her sharp knife, she carefully trims rough threads and smooth surfaces that have become irritating through wear. From a small pottery jar, Cordelia takes a portion of softening salve made from rendered fat mixed with healing herbs. She rubs this preparation into areas of fabric that have become particularly harsh, working the healing oils into the wool fibers to restore some of their original softness. This treatment, applied regularly during evening mending sessions, can extend a garment's comfortable life by months or even years. The cottage around Cordelia holds the tools and materials of her evening craft. Wooden needles, carved smooth by her husband's skilled hands, rest in careful arrangement according to size and purpose. Clay pots containing various preparations for fabric care line a wooden shelf, each mixture carefully compounded from ingredients gathered throughout the seasons. Bundles of thread in different weights and colors hang from wooden pegs, ready for whatever mending challenges the evening might bring. As darkness deepens outside, Cordelia moves from her husband's tunic to other garments that require attention. Her daughter's woolen dress needs its hem adjusted as the child grows, while her son's hose require patching where active play has worn holes in the knees. Each garment receives individual attention, specific modifications designed to address its particular problems and extend its useful life. The evening mending represents more than mere maintenance. It embodies the medieval understanding that comfort must be constantly created and recreated through patient attention to detail. Nothing lasts forever, but skilled care can extend the life and improve the function of everything that serves human needs. This philosophy guides every stitch Cordelia makes, every modification she plans, every small improvement she works into familiar garments. Cordelia's needlework tells stories that words cannot capture. The careful patches speak of poverty transformed into resourcefulness. The tiny stitches testify to patience applied to seemingly endless tasks. The hidden modifications reveal the accumulated wisdom of generations who learned to work within severe constraints to create comfort and dignity from the simplest materials. As the oil lamp burns lower, Cordelia prepares for the night by laying out clean undergarments for each family member. These soft linen shifts and brays, washed frequently and maintained with special care, represent the first line of defense against wool's daily irritation. Their softness, preserved through careful laundering and gentle handling, creates barriers that make rough outer clothing tolerable. The evening's final task involves preparing the family's bedding with herbs that will soothe skin irritated during the day while providing protection against insects that would disturb their sleep. Cordelia scatters dried lavender and mint among the straw that fills their mattress, creating a fragrant bed that promotes healing rest, while repelling fleas and other pests that complicate medieval life. As the cottage settles into peaceful quiet, Cordelia reflects on the evening's accomplishments. The mended garments lie ready for tomorrow's wear, their rough spots smoothed and their comfort restored through patient skill. The healing preparations stand ready to address whatever irritations the new day might bring, while the herb-scented bed promises restorative sleep that will prepare her family for another day's challenges. The oil lamp flickers lower as Cordelia puts away her needlework and prepares for sleep. Through her evening's patient labor, she has woven together the threads of comfort and care that make her family's challenging life not just survivable, but touched with its own forms of beauty
and grace.
The mending light may fade with the dying flame, but the comfort it has created will sustain her family through tomorrow's demands and beyond. In the gentle darkness that follows evening's work, surrounded by the fruits of patient labor and the promise of restored comfort, Cordelia embodies the eternal human capacity to create beauty from necessity, to find softness within roughness, and to transform the simple materials of daily life into sources of comfort, dignity, and quiet pride that shine more brightly than any lamp. As night draws its soft curtain across the medieval village, and cooking fires dim to glowing embers that paint cottage walls in dancing shadows, the family of Thomas and Gwyneth prepares for the sacred ritual of sleep. But before peaceful slumber can come to bodies that have spent the day in wool's rough embrace, the evening holds its own gentle magic for soothing skin and calming spirits that have been tested by the constant small irritations of medieval life. Gwyneth moves quietly through her cottage in the candlelight, checking on each family member's preparations for the night. Her movements carry the practiced grace of someone who understands that comfort must be tended like a garden, requiring daily attention and the application of wisdom accumulated through generations of women who learn to ease human suffering with the simplest materials at hand. Young Edmund sits on the edge of the family bed, and Gwyneth can see in the flickering light the faint red marks on his shoulders where his woolen day shirt has pressed and rubbed throughout the hours of play
and work.
These marks, barely visible but tender to the touch, tell the familiar story of young skin learning to adapt to wool's demands while still requiring protection from its harshest effect. From her collection of evening remedies, carefully stored in small pottery vessels on a wooden shelf, Gwyneth selects a jar containing salve made from chamomile flowers and rendered goose fat. The preparation has the consistency of soft butter and carries the sweet, honey-like scent that promises relief from inflammation and irritation. This healing mixture, made fresh each week during summer months when chamomile blooms in abundance, represents one of the cottage's most precious resources. Gwyneth applies the salve to Edmund's tender shoulders with hands that know exactly how much pressure to use, how to work the healing mixture into irritated skin without causing additional discomfort. The chamomile's natural anti-inflammatory properties begin immediately to reduce redness and swelling, while the protective fat creates a barrier that will prevent the child's linen nightshirt from aggravating the sensitive areas during sleep. "There, now, little one," Gwyneth whispers as she works, her voice carrying the timeless comfort of mothers tending children's hurts throughout all ages. "The herbs will work while you sleep, and morning will find you restored." Edmund relaxes under his mother's gentle ministrations, the day's accumulation of small discomforts already beginning to fade as healing touch and soothing remedies work their quiet magic. Meanwhile, Thomas sits by the dying fire, carefully examining his legs where woolen hose have left their daily marks. The tight-fitting leg coverings, essential for warmth and protection during field work, have created bands of irritation around his calves and ankles. These marks, the price of staying warm and dry during long hours of outdoor labor, require their own specialized treatment before comfortable sleep can come. Gwyneth brings different remedies to her husband's needs, selecting from her stores a salve made with comfrey leaves and pig fat. This preparation carries the earthy scent of the healing plant and the promise of rapid recovery that comfrey provides to skin damaged by friction and pressure. The herb's remarkable properties, known to medieval peasants through generations of experience, promote healing at a rate that seems to defy nature's usual slow pace of repair. As Gwyneth tends to her family's evening needs, she begins the nightly ritual of preparing their sleeping space with herbs that will work throughout
the hours of darkness to soothe and heal.
From bundles hanging from the cottage rafters, she selects dried lavender flowers, their purple-grey color faded, but their healing properties preserved through careful drying and storage. The lavender, scattered among the straw that fills the family mattress, serves multiple purposes in the medieval household's ongoing battle against discomfort. Its characteristic fragrance repels fleas and lice, those constant companions of medieval life that could turn a night's rest into an ordeal
of itching and scratching.
The herb's natural oils also provide mild sedative properties that ease the transition from wakefulness to sleep, while its antiseptic qualities help prevent infection in the small cuts and scrapes that mark every peasant's existence. Mixed with the lavender goes dried mint, its crisp scent creating cooling sensations that soothe skin still warm from the day's accumulation of friction and irritation. The mint's cooling properties work especially well for areas where tight-fitting clothing has created heat and inflammation, providing relief that persists throughout the night. Like lavender, mint also serves as a natural insect repellent, creating multiple layers of protection against pests that would otherwise disturb sleep. Gwyneth adds chamomile flowers to her herbal mixture, their dried petals releasing the same sweet scent that perfumes the healing salves she has applied to her family's irritated skin. The chamomile's calming properties work through gentle inhalation, helping to relax minds that have been tensed against the day's discomforts and preparing bodies for the restorative sleep that heals both physical irritation and emotional stress. The family's nightclothes represent another carefully planned layer of comfort designed to ease the transition from day's roughness to night's peace. Each family member wears a linen shift made from the softest fabric available, garments that have been washed repeatedly until they feel like silk against skin accustomed to wool's coarser embrace. These night shifts, worn directly against the body, provide protective barriers that allow healing to occur during sleep. As the family settles into their shared bed, Gwyneth performs one final evening ritual that has been passed down through generations of mothers who understood the power of scent to calm and heal. She takes a small bundle of dried herbs, lavender, chamomile, and mint tied together with soft woolen thread, and places it beneath the pillow where the family's heads will rest. This herbal pillow, refreshed weekly with new herbs from her garden and stores, ensures that the family's sleep will be perfumed with healing scents that work throughout the night to promote rest and recovery. The gentle fragrances work through the mysterious pathways of scent and memory to calm anxious minds, while the herbs' natural properties provide physical benefits to skin and respiratory systems stressed by daily life. The bed itself represents the culmination of medieval peasant ingenuity in creating comfort from the simplest materials. The wooden frame, built by Thomas from oak trees that grew on the village commons, supports a mattress filled with straw that has been carefully selected and prepared. This straw, cut at the proper time when it is strongest and most resilient, provides firm support while remaining soft enough for comfortable rest. Over the herb-scented straw mattress lies a woolen blanket that has been washed repeatedly to remove its initial roughness. The blanket, woven from wool that Gwyneth herself prepared through the long process of cleaning, carding, spinning and weaving, represents months of patient work. But this investment of time and effort has created a covering that provides warmth, without irritation, comfort, without constraint. As the family arranges themselves for sleep, each person unconsciously performs small movements designed to minimize contact between tender skin and any rough areas of bedding or nightclothes. These subtle adjustments, through experience and performed without conscious thought, represent the body's own wisdom in adapting to medieval life's constant presence of coarse textures. Gwyneth draws the herb-scented blanket over her family, creating a cocoon of warmth and healing that will work throughout the night to restore what the day has worn away. The lavender's calming influence begins to take effect as eyelids grow heavy and breathing deepens. The mint provides its cooling comfort to skin that has been heated by friction, while chamomile works its gentle magic to reduce inflammation and promote peaceful rest. The cottage falls into the deep quiet that comes when families settle into sleep, secure in the knowledge that they are surrounded by the healing influences that will restore their strength for tomorrow's challenges. Outside, the village rests under stars that have watched over countless generations of peasants who learned to create comfort from the simplest materials and find peace within the constraints of harsh circumstance. In their herb-scented bed, surrounded by the gentle fragrances that promise healing and rest, the family drifts towards sleep that will restore both body and spirit. The herbs scattered in their bedding continue their quiet work throughout the night, reducing inflammation, repelling insects, and providing the kind of deep, restorative sleep that heals the accumulation of daily irritations while preparing bodies and minds for whatever challenges tomorrow may bring. As sleep comes gently to the cottage, carrying with it the promise of renewal and restoration, the family rests secure in the knowledge that human wisdom and nature's gifts can transform even the roughest circumstances into bearable comfort, and that peaceful sleep, when it comes, brings healing that makes all of life's small struggles worthwhile and manageable. As autumn's golden farewell gives way to winter's first whispered promise, the village of Little Bramwick prepares for the season that will test every carefully learned lesson about living comfortably with wool. The air carries a crisp edge that speaks of snow to come, and families throughout the community begin the ancient ritual of seasonal transition, adjusting their strategies for comfort as nature demands heavier clothing and longer nights spent in close quarters with materials that protect but also provoke. In her cottage, where herbs hang drying from every beam, and the scent of healing plants perfumes the warming air, Margot sorts through her family's winter woolens with the careful attention of someone who understands that survival depends on preparation. The lighter garments of summer, adequate for warm days but insufficient for winter's bite, must give way to heavier fabrics that provide essential protection against cold that could steal life itself. Margot spreads her family's winter clothing across the wooden table that serves as her work surface, examining each piece with eyes trained by years of experience. Thomas's heavy winter tunic, packed away since spring in a wooden chest with dried lavender to discourage moths, emerges with the slightly musty scent of storage and the accumulated roughness that comes from months of compression and darkness. The key winter garments tell their own stories of adaptation and survival. Patches of soft linen protect areas where wool has grown harsh with wear and washing. Seams have been reinforced with extra stitching to withstand winter's demanding use. Strategic applications of softening treatments mark places where fabric meets skin in areas most vulnerable to chafing and irritation. But winter's arrival brings new challenges that require fresh solutions. The heavier wool needed for warmth carries within its thickness the potential for greater irritation. Garments that must be worn for longer periods without washing accumulate oils and debris that can transform protective clothing into sources of constant discomfort. The close quarters of winter living mean that small irritations can quickly become family-wide problems if not addressed with skill and foresight. Margot begins her winter preparations with the ritual cleaning and treatment that will prepare rough fabrics for months of intimate contact with human skin. She heats water over her fire, not to boiling, but to the temperature that experience has taught her, opens wool fibers without damaging their essential structure. Into this warming bath, she adds herbs selected specifically for winter's unique demands. Where summer's preparations might emphasize cooling mints and light chamomile, winter's herb mixture focuses on warming, healing plants that can address the specific irritations of heavier clothing worn for longer periods. Rosemary, gathered from the sunny hillside where it grows among protective stones, provides warming properties that help skin adapt to wool's increased weight and thickness. Thyme, dried carefully from her garden's last autumn harvest, brings its antiseptic properties to winter washing water. The long intervals between winter washings make infection prevention crucial, and thyme's natural compounds help ensure that minor cuts and scrapes do not develop into serious problems during the cold months when fresh healing herbs are scarce. Sage, with its soft grey-green leaves and warming oils, completes Margot's winter washing mixture. This humble plant provides gentle cleansing properties while leaving fabrics with a fresh, clean scent that will persist through the weeks between washings. More importantly, sage's natural oils help to soften wool fibers, making them more comfortable, against skin that must bear their weight through winter's long, cold days. As Margot works her winter herbs into washing water that steams gently in the cottage's warming air, she reflects on the seasonal wisdom that guides her preparations. Each time of year brings its own challenges and requires its own solutions. Winter's demands are different from summer's trials, but the same principles apply: patience, observation, and the careful application of knowledge passed down through generations of women who faced identical challenges. The winter washing unfolds with ceremonial precision, as Margot treats each garment according to its specific needs and the role it will play in her family's survival. Heavy tunics receive extended soaking in herb-enriched water, allowing the healing compounds to penetrate deeply into wool fibers compressed by months of storage. Lighter undergarments are washed with special gentleness, preserving their softness, while ensuring they remain effective barriers between skin and rougher outer clothing. While the washing proceeds, Margot prepares her cottage for winter's domestic challenges. The herb supply that sustained her family through summer and autumn must now stretch through months when fresh plants lie dormant beneath snow and ice. She checks each bundle of dried herbs, assessing quantities and potency, planning carefully to ensure that healing remedies remain available throughout the season's trials. From the rafters hang the treasures that will sustain her family's comfort. Through winter, lavender for soothing and insect control, chamomile for inflammation, mint for cooling relief, comfrey for rapid healing of cuts and abrasions. Each bundle represents summer's abundance preserved through careful drying and storage, concentrated healing power waiting to address winter's inevitable challenges. Margot's winter preparations extend beyond mere washing to include modifications and improvements that will make heavy clothing more bearable during the cold months ahead. She examines each garment for areas where seams have become rough with wear, places where fabric has developed harsh patches from repeated friction, and spots where modifications might prevent problems before they develop into sources of daily discomfort. Using her sharp knife, Margot carefully trims rough edges and smooth surfaces that have become irritating through use. She applies softening salve made from rendered fat and healing herbs to areas of fabric that have grown particularly coarse, working the treatment into wool fibers with gentle persistence until they regain some of their original softness. These winter modifications require special attention to areas where heavy clothing creates unique pressure points and friction zones. Belt lines where leather and metal hardware press against thick wool receive protective patches of soft linen. Collar areas where woolen fabric rubs against necks wrapped in additional layers are treated with extra applications of softening compounds. Margot's young daughter helps with the preparations, learning the skills that will serve her own family in years to come. The girl watches intently as her mother demonstrates how to identify potential problem areas before they become sources of irritation, how to apply treatments that penetrate deeply into wool fibers, and how to make the small modifications that transform uncomfortable clothing into bearable daily wear. Winter wool is different from summer wool, Margot explains as she works. It must be heavier to keep us warm, but that weight can press against our skin and create soreness. We must be more careful, more thorough in our preparations. This seasonal wisdom, passed from mother to daughter, ensures that knowledge adapts to changing conditions while preserving the essential principles that make harsh life manageable. As afternoon fades toward evening, Margot completes her garment preparations and turns her attention to the family's sleeping arrangements for winter. The herb-scented straw mattress that provided comfortable summer sleeping must be refreshed and modified for the season's different demands. Winter's longer nights and closer family quarters require additional attention to cleanliness and comfort. Margot removes the old straw, examining it for signs of pest infestation or deterioration that could create problems during winter's extended use. The straw that remains clean and resilient is saved for mixing with fresh material, while damaged or contaminated portions are removed to feed the cottage fire. Nothing is wasted in medieval life, where every resource must serve multiple purposes. Fresh straw cut during autumn's harvest and stored in the cottage loft provides the foundation for winter bedding. Margot mixes this new material with herbs selected for their ability to promote restful sleep, while repelling the insects that seek warm shelter as the weather cools. The proportions require careful judgment. Too few herbs and pests will find the bed attractive, too many, and the strong scents might interfere with sleep. Lavender forms the backbone of the winter bedding mixture, its flowers providing the antiseptic and insect-repelling properties that will keep the family healthy through months of close contact with bedding materials. But winter's lavender mixture includes additional herbs that address the season's specific challenges. Rosemary, with its warming properties and clean scent, helps create bedding that promotes circulation and provides comfort for bodies that must work harder to stay warm. The herb's natural oils also help preserve the straw itself, preventing the decay and pest infestation that could make bedding uncomfortable or unhealthy. Mint, though less prominent in winter mixtures than summer blends, still plays its role in providing cooling relief for skin that may become overheated beneath.
Heavy woolen blankets.
The balance between warming and cooling herbs requires adjustment throughout the seasons, and Margot's experience guides her in creating mixtures that provide optimal comfort for winter's unique conditions. As Margot prepares the family's winter bedding, she reflects on the seasonal cycle that governs medieval peasant life. Each time of year brings its own challenges and gifts, its own opportunities for comfort and sources of difficulty. Winter's trials are balanced by its own forms of beauty: the quiet satisfaction of warm shelter when snow falls outside, the intimate comfort of family gathered close around the fire, the deep sleep that comes after successful preparation for harsh weather. The cottage gradually transforms as Margot's winter preparations near completion. Fresh bedding, scented with carefully chosen herbs, promises comfortable sleep through the cold months ahead. Clean, treated clothing waits to provide warmth without excessive irritation. Stores of healing remedies stand ready to address whatever challenges winter might bring to skin and spirit tested by the season's demands. Evening falls early in winter's approach, and Margot lights her oil lamp to complete the day's preparations. The warm light illuminates a cottage ready for winter. Herb bundles hanging from rafters, treated clothing waiting in wooden chests, fresh bedding promising comfortable rest. The accumulated wisdom of generations has been applied to ensure that her family will find comfort even in the season's harshest moments. As the family gathers for their evening meal, they carry with them the confidence that comes from thorough preparation. Their winter clothing has been cleaned, treated, and modified for maximum comfort. Their bedding has been refreshed with herbs that will work throughout the cold months to promote health and restful sleep. Their cottage holds stores of remedies that can address any irritation or discomfort that winter might bring. Outside, the first snowflakes begin to fall, covering the village in pristine white that muffles sound and creates the peaceful hush of winter's arrival. Inside the cottage, the family settles into rhythms that will sustain them through the cold months, closer quarters that require more attention to cleanliness and comfort, longer evenings that provide more time for mending and preparation, and the quiet satisfaction that comes from meeting seasonal challenges with skill and foresight. The cottage glows with warmth and preparation as night settles over the village. Through careful attention to seasonal transitions and the accumulated wisdom of generations who face the same challenges, Margot's family has created a sanctuary of comfort that will sustain them through winter's trials. Their success represents the triumph of human adaptation over harsh circumstance, proof that even the most challenging seasons can be met with grace when knowledge, patience, and careful preparation work together to transform necessity into comfort. In the gentle light of the oil lamp, surrounded by the scents of healing herbs and the satisfaction of thorough preparation, the family embodies winter's own quiet gifts, the deep contentment that comes from readiness, the intimate warmth of shared shelter, and the peaceful knowledge that human wisdom can create comfort even in the face of nature's most demanding season. As winter deepens into its gentle heart and snow blankets the village of Little Bramwick in pristine silence, the cottage of William and Annis glows with the accumulated wisdom of a season lived in harmony with wool's rough embrace. The family has settled into winter's rhythm, their lives a testament to the enduring power of simple solutions applied with patience, knowledge, and the kind of loving attention that transforms hardship into bearable comfort. one day at a time. In the golden flicker of hearth fire, where shadows dance across walls darkened by smoke and time, Anis sits with her mending as she has every evening for 20 years of marriage. But tonight her work carries special significance, for in her hands lies her youngest son's first adult tunic, a garment that will mark his passage from childhood's softer fabrics into the full partnership with wool that defines grown life in their medieval world. The tunic, woven from wool that Anis herself prepared through the long cycle of washing, carding, spinning and weaving, represents more than mere clothing. Each thread carries within its twisted structure the accumulated knowledge of generations who learned to live comfortably with rough materials. The fabric has been treated with herbs that soothe and protect, washed in waters blessed with healing plants, and constructed with seams designed to rest gently against human skin. Yet Anis knows that even the most carefully prepared wool requires constant attention to remain comfortable. Her evening's work focuses on the small modifications that will ease her son's transition into adult clothing. Strategic patches of soft linen placed where friction is most likely to occur. Applications of softening salve worked into areas where fabric meets sensitive skin. Adjustments to seams and fastenings that distribute pressure evenly across the body's surface. As she works by firelight, Anis reflects on the cycles that govern their lives. The daily rhythm of washing and tending, the weekly ritual of more thorough cleaning and healing, the seasonal transitions that require new strategies and different preparations, all these patterns repeat endlessly, each cycle building upon the last, each generation learning from those who came before, while adding their own discoveries to the accumulated store of wisdom. Her husband William sits across the fire, examining his own winter clothing with the careful attention that experience
has taught him to provide.
His thick woolen tunic, now in its third winter of service, shows the marks of their successful partnership, areas worn smooth by repeated contact with his body, patches and modifications that have transformed rough necessity into comfortable daily wear, the subtle adaptations that allow coarse material to serve gentle human needs. The cottage around them holds the visible evidence of their mastery over medieval life's challenges. Bundles of herbs hang from every rafter, their dried forms promising healing and comfort through the remaining winter months. Pottery jars containing various salves and remedies line wooden shelves, each preparation carefully compounded from recipes passed down through generations of women who faced identical challenges with creativity and determination. Young Margaret, now old enough to help with family preparations, practices her spinning by the fire's warmth. The thread growing beneath her fingers will someday become fabric, then clothing that will serve her own family's needs. But more than mere thread, she creates continuity, the unbroken chain of knowledge and skill that ensures survival and comfort in a world where both must be earned through daily effort and accumulated wisdom. The spinning wheel's gentle rhythm creates its own meditation as Margaret works, her hands learning the motions that will serve her throughout her life. The thread she creates carries within its structure not just wool fibers, but the accumulated understanding of generations who learn to transform rough necessity into bearable comfort through patience, skill, and the kind of loving attention that sees possibility within constraint. As the evening progresses, the family engages in the quiet rituals that prepare them for another night's rest in winter's embrace. Anis checks each person's skin for signs of irritation, applying healing salves where needed, and making small adjustments to clothing that will ease the transition into sleep. The daily accumulation of minor irritations receives attention before it can become serious discomfort. preventing small problems from growing into large ones. William adds fresh herbs to their mattress, scattering dried lavender and mint among the straw with the practiced hand of someone who understands that comfort must be constantly renewed. The herbs, gathered during summer's abundance and carefully preserved through autumn's preparation, continue their quiet work of repelling insects while providing the gentle scents that promote restful sleep. The family's evening washing unfolds, with ceremonial precision as each member tends to skin that has spent another day in wool's company. Warm water, heated over the fire and scented with healing herbs, provides gentle cleansing that removes accumulated oils and debris, while soothing areas where fabric has pressed too firmly or rubbed too persistently against tender flesh. The herbal washes vary according to individual needs and seasonal demands. Winter's preparations emphasize warming herbs like rosemary and thyme, plants that help skin adapt to heavier clothing, while providing the antiseptic protection that prevents minor irritations from becoming infected. Each person receives exactly the treatment their condition requires, from gentle chamomile washes for sensitive areas to stronger comfrey applications for skin that shows signs of serious irritation. As the family prepares for sleep, Anis performs the evening ritual that has sustained them through countless nights of winter's challenges. She places fresh bundles of herbs beneath their pillows, lavender for its calming influence, chamomile for its healing properties, mint for its cooling comfort. These simple plants, transformed through drying and careful storage into concentrated, healing power, work throughout the night to promote the kind of restorative sleep that heals both body and spirit. The cottage settles into winter's deep quiet as the family arranges themselves in their herb-scented bed. The mattress, filled with straw and enriched with healing plants, provides firm support while offering the medicinal benefits that work through contact and gentle inhalation. The woolen blankets, softened through repeated washing and treatment, with herbal preparations provide warmth without irritation. Under these simple covers, surrounded by the gentle fragrances of healing herbs and the satisfaction of another day's challenges successfully met, the family drifts towards sleep that will restore their strength for tomorrow's continuation of the eternal cycle. Their bodies, marked by the day's small negotiations with rough wool, will heal during the night hours, while their spirits find renewal in the deep contentment that comes from mastering life's demands through knowledge, patience, and skill. Anis lies awake for a few moments longer, listening to the quiet breathing of her family and reflecting on the wisdom that guides their lives. They have learned to work with wool's nature rather than against it, to find comfort within constraint rather than seeking escape from limitation. Their success comes not from avoiding hardship, but from developing the skills and knowledge needed to transform hardship into manageable comfort. The snow continues to fall outside, muffling the village in winter's peaceful embrace, while families throughout the community rest secure in their own versions of the same ancient wisdom. Each cottage holds its own collection of healing herbs, its own carefully mended clothing, its own store of knowledge about living comfortably with rough materials and harsh conditions. As sleep finally claims the cottage, carrying with it the promise of restoration and renewal, the family rests within the eternal cycle that has sustained human comfort through countless generations. Their peace comes from understanding that comfort is not a destination to be reached, but a practice to be maintained, not a gift to be received, but a skill to be developed through patient attention to the small details that make harsh life gentle. Their herb-scented sleep, surrounded by the fruits of accumulated wisdom and daily care, they embody the enduring truth that human beings can find grace within any circumstance, comfort within any constraint, and peace within any challenge when They learn to work with nature's gifts rather than against her demands. Their dreams, perfumed with lavender and blessed with the satisfaction of problems solved, carry them gently toward tomorrow's continuation of the eternal cycle of simple comfort, earned through wisdom, maintained through patience, and shared through the loving hands that transform necessity into grace. The cottage rests in winter's deep embrace, holding within its walls the living proof that even the simplest life can be rich with comfort when human wisdom meets natural abundance with the kind of patient skill that creates softness within roughness, peace within struggle, and the enduring satisfaction of challenges met with grace, creativity, and the accumulated wisdom of generations who learn to find abundance within simplicity, comfort within constraint, and lasting peace within the eternal cycle of human adaptation to life's gentle demands. Sleep comes gently to those who understand that true comfort lies not in the absence of challenge, but in the presence of wisdom, patience, and the quiet confidence that comes from knowing that human ingenuity can always find ways to create softness within roughness, peace within difficulty, and the kind of lasting satisfaction that comes from problems solved through love, knowledge, and the eternal cycle of simple comfort that sustains all human life with its gentle, enduring embrace.